Hey, welcome to the Weekend Toast. My name's Isaiah. This is Josh Devin and Ben
What up?
Dishman over here in his Sweeney Todd best. Um, Josh, who is that
Yeah.
again?
That's you guys know that guy. He's in British movies, and he's as Isaiah, I think you put it best, Paul Giamatti's ugly brother.
Oh gosh.
I think it's a nicer look for Ben than what he normally
I
tries
just
on.
I just know
You
him
know,
as the rat guy from Harry Potter, and yeah.
I
So
think he played
Oh,
Churchill once.
did he
did
really?
he?
I think so. Yeah,
This
Churchill
is
was a Uggo,
awesome.
so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
He
But
typically seems to play a very Weasley character,
yeah,
so kind of a greasy
very
little life.
rodent features
I thought I got a notification
like
about a
Ben.
live stream that I did last night, like a minute ago, and I was like, "Oh crap! I think we just went live on my gaming channel," but we did not.
Oh,
Okay, good.
We are here. Hey, so we've got. I mean, how can you talk about anything other than the election? Today, we're going to talk about just the election updates. We did a live stream for a good chunk of that on Tuesday, but we're going to talk about the latest on the election and then talk about the Mandalorian a bit. We're not going to spoil anything. We're really just going to talk about episode one. Episode two is
oh, are
out
we not
now.
going to spoil anything?
You
Ooh,
said we
yeah,
were going to talk
episode two.
about, yeah.
We should spoiler talk episode one.
No, no,
Episode
100%,
two
100%.
spoilers
No,
though,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
seen it.
No, I'm talking about we're not going to talk about episode two because a lot of people probably
Gotcha,
haven't
gotcha.
watched it yet.
Okay.
And
I haven't
so
watched it yet, so
yeah, I
Yeah, me
haven't.
either.
I do think though we should. Me and Josh talked about it. We should consider like doing uh, episode reviews like the day of, like since we're already on here. Maybe not live, but like record them and then post them in the afternoon.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
possibly.
but it would just anyway. But that's not the coolest thing. Not the coolest thing. That's dumb. That's not the most important thing that's happened this week. Election 2020. What do you guys? I guess what let's Josh give the people give us just kind of the latest from like yesterday to now, or even from Tuesday to now, like just kind of what's transpired.
Okay. So I think as we're all aware, states are still counting, particularly mail-in ballots, which is why you're seeing some of the states like Georgia and Pennsylvania start to trend more and more towards Joe Biden because he's heavily favored in the mail-in votes, and that was all that's left to count there. Still not done. Looks like Uncle Joe's gonna snap this thing up. And what are they running for? King? Is that what it is? In the yeah.
Oh,
So
of the country, king of the
yeah,
country.
of the country. Yeah, the position. This I've only just become aware that there's an election going on.
Trying to tally up our picks from the other night, but it's really difficult to do so just
I
with the.
know, like we all like missed every other
Oh,
one. I've got it in
yeah.
front of me.
I have no idea who won. I'm trying to just not tally mark this and just do mental tally marks, and I can't get it. It looks like I think you're doing the best so far, Josh.
Yeah, but
But
we're
then,
all like within one. For those
but
who
then you
don't
called
know,
Ohio blue.
for those who saw us on the stream, we all made picks for which of the swing states would turn which way. And the one that Ben sent us, did we not pick Pennsylvania? Because that was
We
kind
did
of
it.
a
We
We
didn't talk about
we no,
Pennsylvania
we
or
did. I don't
Nevada.
think he wrote it.
You didn't
yeah. I
write
had
it
it whichever way it's gonna go.
Yeah,
because
same
we
here.
have we have Iowa on there, and I don't remember thinking Iowa was going to be a swing
I
state.
think
But
Ben's list of
It was
swing
I was
states.
leaning red.
yeah,
Ben was
it
watching
went red.
totally
Yours went red.
something different for like I don't know. I think his list of swing states were from a previous year or something.
No. It was a good one. Because I was looking at the map. So there was the toss-up states, remember, that weren't like the polls weren't leaning either way. It was a legit toss-up, which was most of them. But then there were states that were leaning a particular direction. And that's
Right.
um, like Texas, Iowa, uh, and I don't know what else. Maybe Arizona was leaning blue, but like North Carolina, Ohio, Georgia, those were all complete toss-ups in the
Right.
polls.
I think you did the best, Josh. I think I may have done the worst.
Yeah. Although again,
Here Isaiah did the worst.
what's the
Probably.
I think Isaiah, you did the worst.
I mean, we've still got some things to look. It looks like, most of the votes probably coming in are going to be for Joe Biden, but he has less than a 2,000 vote lead in Georgia.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, dude, like to come within 2,000 votes, that's out of again, they have over 98% is what the New York Times is reporting. That's out of nearly 5 million votes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's come down to
Isaiah?
2,000.
You got only Iowa right. You were dead wrong on every single other one. Ben got North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and Texas,
Well,
correct?
I'm just saying, have you seen Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
So you know that scene where like he's trying to get kicked out of the school, so he like bombs the test intentionally by choosing pretty much every answer wrong
Is
because he
this your
really
defense?
knew every answer right. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like I didn't want to be right.
Okay, fair enough.
So
Let me see. I got Florida and I got Iowa and Ohio, correct? And then Josh got, let's see. Josh got Florida, Arizona, Iowa, and Texas, correct? So Ben and Josh may be tied.
yeah.
I'm tired of counting, but yeah.
So let's take a look at this real quick. I've had this pulled up for everybody.
Okay.
Here are the 5 states still to come in. Josh, you've kind of already touched on this, but just with the most updated numbers I could find, Georgia, literally Biden. This has gone down actually because I saw a higher number earlier, but he's got right at 1,500 vote lead
Yeah.
margin with less than 50,000 to come in. So this is literally the last of it. To your point, if the mail-ins continue to trend towards him, he's pretty much got Georgia, but it is still stinking close. Pennsylvania, he's starting to pull away. That 2%, or sorry,
More mail-in votes there as well.
yeah, that margin has grown since I saw this yesterday, and then North Carolina pretty much. I think that's going to be North Carolina and Alaska are pretty much. It's just the fact that they haven't counted.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and in North Carolina too, I believe North Carolina was a state that you had to have mail-in ballots in earlier.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people are thinking North Carolina is going to Trump still because all
Yeah.
of those,
Yeah.
all the votes left are
Yeah.
more up in Trump territory. Although again, it's insanely close in all of these states except Alaska. That one's not really.
Yeah, Nevada is the one. Have you guys seen all the memes that are like, it's Nevada, not
Yes.
Nevada? And then the girl is like, well,
Oh,
you
no, I
better
haven't seen
start
that.
Nevading up those votes.
No, I saw the ones that were just joking on Nevada taking forever. Like I saw one that said like text message, church is starting, where are you? And then it was a picture of Paris Hilton with like her purse and like a Starbucks drink and like some breakfast.
Well,
No.
dude, in Nevada on like Tuesday, they were like, "We will update everybody at noon Eastern on Thursday," and it's like,
Yeah.
why? What? Why
It was
would you?
weird. They finished the night, election night, at like 75% of the votes counted. And then Wednesday at like 4 p.m., they had 76% of the votes counted. I was like, that's all you got done today? What happened? So I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. So taking a look at oh gosh, I zoomed in further than I wanted to. The way Nevada ended
Well,
up.
yeah, now it's percentage wise 80. Is that 83? It's a little blurry on my screen.
Sorry, I was
83%.
Yeah, so I mean, there Biden's up about 1.5% in the votes. So I used to live in Nevada,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean it's
So the way it's trending,
anyway.
even if Nevada flipped, it wouldn't matter because it looks like, unless something crazy happens in this last like 0.5% of votes for Georgia, it looks like Biden's going to take Georgia, and it looks like he's probably going to take Pennsylvania as well. So even if Nevada gets taken away, it doesn't look like it's going to matter.
Yeah,
he just has
Trump
to
would
win
have
one
to
more.
win.
Biden just
Yeah.
has to win one more state.
Biden has to win one
Yeah.
more.
Trump
Trump
has
has
to
to,
win it.
hold Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and then win either Nevada or
By
Arizona.
the way, toast.
I don't have a cup. Toast, yeah. To the weekend.
Yeah.
Ben, what do you
guys
think?
see that? Did you guys see all the flack that Fox News caught for declaring Arizona for Biden so early? Because I checked like CNN and stuff that I don't, as of last night, they still haven't declared Arizona for Biden. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. Well, I remember back in 2016, Fox was always like the first one to call everything. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, you guys have
Did
like
they
colors
end
on
up
your map.
looking like a fool on the end of any of them? Like, were they wrong?
No,
Okay,
not
yeah,
at all.
they,
Well, and they were calling Wisconsin. Like, I don't think any of the other networks called Wisconsin or Michigan.
yeah,
At least not both of them before the night was over, and they did so by 11, and they got them right.
yeah.
But
I've been flipping back and forth between like all the major networks, which I think is a healthy thing to do for anybody, just to see the different perspectives that people have, because you might pick up things you agree with here and things you agree with there. But it was kind of entertaining to watch. There were some people from the Trump administration, or just maybe not any elected Republican officials, but just people commentating on it, there was one guy who really hammered them, Fox News, for calling Arizona for Biden so early. And they were like, well, there's still so much of the vote left to count. And they've had their same analyst come on like multiple times. And he really just has this smirk on his face every time he comes in, and he just defends his position. And he's like, yes, no, I understand that there's still a lot of the votes to be counted, but based on our numbers, nothing is going to change. And so we are going to stand by that decision. They were like calling, you need to reverse that. And, he's like, no, we're not going to. We're calling it, and it's going to stand that way. And so I was like, respect for.
And well, here's the thing: is that if it goes the other way, you change it.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You change it.
Well, and it's not as big as the only Vox with a V has actually called the election for Biden.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen anybody. I mean, everybody's saying like, this is where it's looking, but they straight up just said wins the election.
Yeah.
So although as an internet blog, I'm sure there's benefits to getting ahead of the cable.
I got to see if I can find this.
Shows.
Did you guys see the? I saw it on TikTok, but it was the guy that it was like, I think my Alexa got hacked, and he goes in and he's like, hey Alexa, who's the president of the United States? And it says like, and it reads it. Now here's the thing, this could have very easily just been edited and stuff like that, but it was like, the 46th president of the United States is Joe Biden. And it was like, and he's like, what happened yesterday? And he's like, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump for become the 46th president of the United States.
Dude, there it is.
Yeah. I would wager like 75% of the money in my bank account right now that's fake.
No,
because I've
only
seen
75
so many of those videos in the past. I remember somebody close to me sent me a video a couple of years ago being outraged. And this was like literally a month after I'd won an Amazon Alexa at like a work Christmas party thing.
Was it the haunted one?
Huh?
Was it the haunted video?
It was the one where I'd seen it on a lot of a lot of the conservative Facebook, political professionals or whatever, kind of like not Candace Owens, but of that kind of brand, where they're really popular on Facebook, but maybe a little less credible than her. And they were showing that if you asked Alexa who Jesus was, she said, Jesus is a fictional character, blah, 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 and read off all this stuff. And then if you asked her who
Muhammad or something,
Muhammad was, it gave like a description. And I paused the video that they sent me. They're all outraged. Can you believe this? Blah, blah, blah. And I paused it and I asked my Alexa, which was right there, Alexa, who is Jesus? And she read from the Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Same thing Siri does.
Doesn't say he was a fictional character or anything. It just gives a historical perspective on who Jesus was.
Sorry. So the reason that came to my mind, the reason I was like, that I even thought about that was because I think I'm curious what you guys think. Like, I feel like a lot of times these networks get bashed, and rightfully so most of the time, just for being like alarmist or jumping the gun or false news, got to be first. Yet, like, I don't know, personally, when I was going through like TikTok and the other social media platforms, I'm watching all these things that are done in the name of humor and sarcasm, but I'm like, man, people will take this video and go blow it up, like, in regards to just like putting it out there a ton. Like, so I started scrolling through the comments of that one, and it's like, this is, censorship, all this other stuff, like it's rigged. And I'm like, it's probably just a fake video, but I don't know. It kind of just heightened the sense, like this idea in my mind that's like, okay, they're like, we hold the same responsibility that we're trying to hold these networks to as well. And I don't think that it's called out enough.
And that was one of my things on the social dilemma thing, where we're like, they're brainwashing us and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know. I have a hard time sympathizing with like, have you ever seen somebody post like an article that's clearly a screenshot from somebody's notes or something?
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I've
what do you
seen
mean?
multiple. So like they'll post like an argument, something that they like quote stats or whatever. But you can tell it was screenshotted from somebody's notes, but it comes from another page. So who knows who wrote it or what did it? But it's just like people are just looking at those words, and I've seen multiple things like that I don't even necessarily know if they're fake or not. But like when I see something like that, I just think like, well, that's not something I'd ever take information from.
Yeah, and
Like
so
that stuff gets put in front of me, but I just think like, okay,
let me let me
it's not causing me
preface
to make decisions.
let me preface what I'm about to say with I don't think that we should only trust the major news outlets, like only CNN and Fox and the major ones can get truth. But I will say I saw several articles yesterday about like a truckload of ballots from the military were thrown in the trash in Pennsylvania. Most of them were for Trump. And then you just look at the news outlet that posted it, and it was pajamas news. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but I would
Probably
just
no Pulitzer nominees from
yeah,
Pajamas
I'm just a
News.
little skeptical of their reliability at pajamas news,
Yeah.
So
Well, I told y'all about the. Did we ever talk about the aggressively like the vaguely threatening campaign ads we were watching about
No.
just going
I
out
don't know
and
if we talked
voting?
about it on here. I can't remember.
Yeah, so we talked about this for those of you watching. We talked about it offline about how we've each experienced like ads on YouTube that weren't from candidates.
I'm
but
gonna work
just,
at pulling one up.
Yeah, they were kind of those those go vote ads. But one is like,
Yeah.
nobody can tell who you voted for. But did you know that your friends and family can look up if you voted at all? And it's like, wait, are you threatening me with like?
Yeah, it was very threatening.
And
It
then
was
the
after
brainwash
election,
one.
your friends and family will be able to look up your voter registration and see how often you vote. And
Yeah.
it was put very like, hey, unless you don't want to look like a terrible person because you didn't vote, you better get out there and do it because people will know. And
Yeah. So it's just like
that me being like a very my part of my personality, I think, is I'm very like nonconformist, and I have to work on that sometimes. But that almost made me want to go, no, I'm not going to go vote now because you threatened me.
Yeah.
And I did end up going to vote, but I wanted to not just because you threatened me.
Only after that they voted "Will you" commercial. Oh my gosh.
Let's
That
see.
one.
Okay, let's see here if I can get this. I'm not sure if this will come
Yeah.
through. The audio should come through. Probably not for us,
them,
but for the
not for
stream.
us.
Yeah, here you
Yeah.
go.
Did you?
They voted.
Oh,
Will
gosh.
you? They voted.
Oh,
Will you?
Dude,
They
this one I
voted.
saw a
Will
30-second
you?
version of this
They
commercial.
voted.
I was
Will
like,
you? They
what
voted.
the heck?
Will
Look
you?
under the eye.
They
This
voted.
is
Yeah.
Will you?
so
The
shades
mouths that went to
of
the eyes.
yes
Will
of
you?
Relax from Zoolander for anybody who's
Well,
seen that, the brainwash thing.
And look at the
It's-
pandering that they have here as well.
Yeah.
A bomb, LGBTQ stuff,
Yeah.
America,
Yes.
even
What's
the
the
world.
do
Recycling.
not sign? What is that supposed to be about?
The what?
The do not sign. Do not what?
I don't know, man.
Cancel?
Probably, no,
Yeah.
I think it's probably censorship or something.
Oh.
Okay.
But
Also,
the funny
yeah.
thing, the one that I thought was funny.
This.
So what is traditionally, and I still believe, like still widely understood as like the Black Power symbol, is
Yeah.
not the one that they chose to
It
put.
shows the Homer
Yeah.
Simpson power.
And so
Simpson's power.
Yeah. Also, the bomb emoji is really scary because, like, that's
Yeah.
the last thing that your eyes will catch, and then it's like, wait, is that a threat? Is that,
exactly.
dude?
Yeah,
that commercial
like-
was that really got me, and actually, I watched it, and then I totally zoned out, and I had, completely in a trance, driven to the polls, and I was ready to vote again. I mean, it really got me.
I think you're
Yeah.
pretty spot on with your Zoolander analogy there. Yeah.
I was surprised Will Ferrell as Bagatu didn't come on screen at any point and be like, "Hi there."
Kill
You
the
got-
Prime Minister. What does he
Kill
say?
the Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I want to talk to you about child labor laws. They're silly and outdated.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Dude, that
No,
was
real.
like-
No, I almost want to go back to that video. The progression of the things there was very odd because it was like recycling, and then the traditionally Black Power fist, and then it was like peace, and then as you go down, it was like cancel, and then it was like a bomb.
Yeah. Also, what's
Let's see.
above the bomb? A stopwatch, like
This
a
is probably
ticking time bomb.
this is the best screen grab right there.
Dude, yes. When that happened, I was like, this is very strange. This is uncomfortable.
Vote this fall.
By the way, the only article I could see promoting this ad, because trying to find this ad was really difficult. Like, you can't just search for it on YouTube.
Yes.
The article promoting it was another one of those these obviously kind of, amateur fake news kind of deals. I forget what it was called, but their tagline was, "Our bias is reality." And
Gosh.
that was just one of those things that says, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah.
Well, here was the
It's
thing
like the
about
Truth magazine or something like that.
so Last Chance is their page, but like they don't have anything on their homepage. All the videos are unlisted. Can't even get
It's
to
the
it.
Russians.
Well, no, you can do this all in your settings. What I was saying is like it's almost
Yeah.
like in a cowardice way. It's like, all right, man, put all your stuff out there. Like if you really want that
Yeah,
stuff to
dude,
circulate, but the only way those videos get shared is if somebody pushes it. And so
Yeah.
it was just one of those
And
like
these types of commercials that we've seen, we should know. It's not from a particular candidate or a party. These are independent. I mean, you can obviously tell, some of them have slants on
Yeah.
who they'd like you to vote for.
oh,
Especially
you mean
Last
like
Chance.
that song? Okay, this one was straight from Trump, but he had all the music ads that were coming out, like the Latinos for
Yes.
Trump.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Dude,
hilarious.
I wish campaign songs would come back even stronger. Like you
Bro,
read about back in
seriously.
the day, like
Oh,
people were
man.
like singing for their people. I was like, all right, like that. I'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to vote for that guy, but I bet he's all right. That was a pretty catchy tune.
It was bizarre. I saw like on Rogan's live stream of it, him and Kyle Kalinske they were talking about the differences in the campaign strategies for Trump from 2016 to 2020, and they showed Trump's like basically his victory speech on election night when he won, and it was actually really good. Like it was a great speech. I mean, I may not like the guy, but it was a good speech, and it was like, oh yeah, I mean, if you voted for the guy, you definitely feel pumped up after that. And they kind of compared it to like what are these videos of him doing little dances and stuff like that, and then yeah, it's bizarre. But did you guys see I don't know who she is, but I guess she's a pastor or something like that. She was on like television and she was doing like a prayer, a national prayer for Trump's victory. And she was basically doing I'm declaring a victory. I'm declaring a victory over and over and over again. Did you guys see that?
No, but it's good to know that bad theology is proven bad.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I was
Barely.
very much
Could you
like,
imagine if he won
this-
and she's
Yeah,
like, see,
right.
now
Yeah.
everybody give me money.
I don't know. Maybe she did this before, but at the time that I saw it, I'm pretty sure it was the day after election. It was Wednesday, and so it's already. I think Wednesday, everybody's kind of knowing like it's looking like Biden's probably going to win the election. Like, and so I was wondering like, what do you do when you're wrong about that? Like,
So
Yeah.
so let's speculate a little
Well,
bit because
technically, all she said was she's declaring a victory, which
True.
was true. She was declaring a victory.
yeah,
But I mean, she didn't necessarily predict that.
declarations and outcomes are different things.
Kind of like I declare bankruptcy from The Office.
yeah.
You have to do more than
Yeah.
just, you can't just say victory out loud. You have to.
Great example of when name it, claim it theology just does not work.
Yeah. So hey, let's speculate for a little bit, just because like I mean the next week, unless we were to come on like right after this, which I don't think we're planning on doing, like the results more than likely will be in next week. Now, here's what like
It could be today, man.
well, it's no,
Georgia?
as I'm saying, like so by the time we get off here, more than likely one of these states will be claimed,
Yeah.
or at least awarded to one or the other, and we'll see an outcome, likely Biden, as the way things look now. What do you think happens next? I know we were talking in our group chat. Like, there's a lot of will he concede? Will he be a jerk about it? All this stuff. I was watching somebody posted the George Bush Sr. his response after Bill Clinton won.
They talked about that. That was actually really cool.
Yeah, just a really cool and I think for the most part, man, as I've thought through the past times where there was a change in the president. Like most of those things have always been really smooth. Even Obama's to Trump's, for the most part was like we called him, stuff like that. Yeah. What are some of the things you guys can see happening? You hear stuff about like, hey, no, this is going to get caught up in red tape because they're going to sue and recount and all that kind of stuff. What are some of the things you guys think might actually happen in the next week?
Well, I don't see Trump doing the sweet little note in the Oval Office desk like George H.W. Bush did. I don't see that happening. So that's Josh.
Do you think that on Inauguration Day that he'll give candy to Michelle Obama?
What?
Like, you remember George Bush?
Oh,
did that?
yes, that
you
was
guys
so,
know what I'm saying?
yeah, that was so cute.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like, could you imagine if that scene was repeated with Donald Trump? No. So I think that um, okay, I want to be careful how I phrase it. I think there's a difference between legally challenging things to say, we want to recount,
Yeah. Dude.
I don't think that's going to do anything. Don't think there's anything necessary, but like, it's, you can do that. What I don't like is, have your lawyers do that and say, we want to recount to be sure. Okay, that's fair. We'll see how that works out for you. However, the claims of fraud are really disturbing. And to have what is looking like, again, we should say we don't yet know. There's very slim margins in some states, but what looks like we're going to have 2 election losers in a row say that their losses were completely illegitimate.
Yeah.
And that's not a good trend.
Just to be clear, you're talking about Hillary in 2016.
Yes. Yeah, she's yet to say that she
hello.
legitimately lost, and I see Trump taking the same tack.
Yeah.
Now I don't think that'll affect. Again, assuming Joe Biden wins.
Sorry, I had to make a Starbucks order.
Hi, Rebecca.
Josh says hi.
What's up?
I had to.
But I don't think that there will be a crisis in government. I think it will be. I think it's a terrible way to cast doubt on fraud when it just. I mean, there's just nothing to suggest that.
Josh, can I ask you a follow-up question then, just to press into that? Is like, so what you mentioned, like, man, hey, this is. We noticed, obviously on the other side, but like we noticed these things happening in 2016 and now continuing to happen. Like, what are, even if it's not that the government falls apart, things go into chaos, what are the lasting effects of this kind of a trend of just like when you lose, you just start blaming everything else and try to raise heck?
I think that it's, and I want to be clear, I think that the outgoing process of the Trump administration will be just as swift and normal as anybody's. I think like he's going to, move, but he won't ever stop. I mean, you could even see that, like, you can compare how he what policies he supports compared to what he actually says. And those are often different things. It's not great that they're different things, but they are. Now, I think the lasting effects, though, is if this becomes a regular way, and it seems like, because it seems very prevalent on both sides. If this becomes a regular way about talking about the election, because this happened with the Georgia gubernatorial election, where Stacey Abrams has yet to concede that from 2018. And if this becomes a regular way that we talk about all our elections, that no one could have honestly beat me or beat my side, then I fear that at some point down the road, not the next administration, maybe not even the next one, but at some point down the road, that we might actually see action to prevent extra legal, if you will, action to prevent the election process from going through. So I want to be clear. I don't think that happens now. And everybody's saying, oh, there's going to be a war. I think those are all baseless. But the more we allow ourselves to talk this way, and it's not just the people at the top. It's followers, not even just the social media people, although the people who comment on social media are probably more prone to conspiracy and thinking that their candidate couldn't actually lose. But I just think we're setting ourselves up for something bad later down the road, maybe decades from now.
Yeah. I will say I applaud Fox News for basically taking the stance that, hey, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And Trump has said, we have so much proof, we have so much evidence, this is going to be overturned, and all the stuff. And they basically sat there and said, well, you're gonna have to provide that then, It's claiming they have it. We haven't seen anything. And they've said, we have seen no evidence to support that there would be fraud whatsoever. And obviously CNN and the other ones have not been near as gracious. They've been, they've been claiming, he's trying to undermine democracy and this is an embarrassment to America and all this stuff. But we know Fox News is going to lean the other way. And even they have not supported him in this. And they've even talked about the recounts that, when you demand a recount, that's fine. But typically a recount, when they've done these in the past, it's only changed it by 150 votes, 200 votes, not a couple thousand that you're going to need to overturn some of these states. So,
right.
Josh.
I think Trump is going to try to take this as far as he can. And I think the courts, I don't even know if it goes to the Supreme Court. I think the state courts are just going to shut it down quickly and be like, hey man, we don't find there's no evidence and you lost. And so that's the way that it is.
So I keep seeing, and here's the thing: I remember vividly, like the 2000 election, the Florida recount. I remember having
Yeah.
the
That wasn't that one within like 300 votes. So that was like like multiple recounts were
Yeah.
necessary because it could have actually swung it. I mean,
Well, but so the thing with Florida, state demanded a recount, and the Supreme Court said that was unconstitutional.
yeah,
'cause
it
they
was a
sued.
big deal, and because I remember having, like, I wasn't invested politically in either Bush or Gore at that time, but I remember almost thinking as a kid, because let me see, at that time I would have been 11, yeah, either 11 or 12, depending on if I had my birthday. But like, I remember having the newspaper, the Dallas Morning News and the Fort Worth Star Telegram, that both said in big letters, Bush wins. And then the recount happened. And I remember thinking, like, I kind of wish Gore wins now, because then I'll have this cool piece of like history where they printed the wrong president. Or no,
Yeah.
it was the New York Times. Sorry, because they were selling that. But here's my question: I keep seeing
That
people.
happened with Dewey.
Oh yeah,
Back when Truman won.
yeah.
Anyway.
I remember. So, but I've been hearing everybody, and I don't know the details. Josh and Evan, you guys might know. Like, everybody keeps saying, like, well-respected people on both sides are just like, look, if nothing else, like, the way that things have been handled just continue to show how, like, the trust for like the American people's trust is probably going to continue to be marred by this. Like, we all just need to start counting the way Florida does. What are they talking about?
Well, they all need to count.
Everybody keeps praising, just like, hey, like, all these different states, like, we just need to tighten it up the way that Florida does. And I don't know what they keep referencing.
Florida didn't report their results for like 2 weeks last year, so I don't know what I don't know if they're just living off short memory or if.
Let me see here.
I haven't really heard that. So I have heard some people be critical of Pennsylvania and say, like, hey, like, why can't you start counting the mail-in votes until after the election day ones are in? Why couldn't you start in advance? And, that way the American people are not just left in this limbo of,
okay,
Right.
purgatory of just waiting.
And by the way, I think I mentioned this last time, but we should bring up again that, like, these things are, especially in states like Pennsylvania, are not helped by the fact that their attorney general said, if we count things up properly, there's no way Donald Trump will win. It's like, that's not, he said that before the election. It's just like, bro, you're going to be counting late. Like, you can't say those things. And is it not razor close? So
here's the here's what Florida's. So Florida actually, let's see, they looks like they were able to, the polls closed at 7, and they were able to have their stuff counted and called by, like, essentially midnight 12:30.
Gotcha.
And so here were some of the things and this is what I'm thinking are probably what people are saying. Pre-election day processing, they could start processing the mail-in ballots 22 days before the election. That meant that much of the work had been done when polls closed, because there's some states that it's like they weren't allowed to start counting until election day. Let's see here. Yeah, like Pennsylvania couldn't start processing their mail-in ballots till 7 a.m. On election day, which I would suspect is one of
why.
Yeah. So it says experience. Florida has more experience handing mail-in ballots, which surged in popularity this year because of the pandemic. In 2016, nearly 2.7 of Florida's cast mail-in ballots. 2.7 million people, compared to like 262,000 in Pennsylvania. Like, so Florida is about this. Florida had strict deadlines. It said domestic mail ballots in Florida must be received by 7 p.m. on election day to be counted. And so they said hardcore.
Other states had postmarked for election day.
Exactly.
They would take them by the 12th.
Yeah, and so
it's just like, why?
Let's see.
Honestly, I didn't mail-in vote this year because I got a lot going on, and I didn't look up what you need to do that. But I may next time if it's still an option, just because I like the idea to be able to research people as I look at their names and propositions and stuff that I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't even hear anything about that. Now it's asking me if I want to vote for it and giving me a paragraph description of what it is. And so mail-in voting may be the way that I try to go in the future, so I can sit there, look at these names, look up stuff, and formulate my answers right there, rather than just going into a poll and trying to remember, like, oh crud, I thought maybe I liked this guy better. But yeah. I mean, the days of just like red or just blue, at least for me,
there is a third option, Devin.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'm just trying to do a better job.
Yeah.
going
Only
through
one
all
third
that.
option this time.
Yeah. Or
Oh,
one
yeah.
that actually
Well, there
name
was
showed.
Green. There was the Green Party.
Well, the Green Party
who
wasn't on
died.
the ballot in a lot of states, and I think last I saw, Howie
He's on both.
Hawkins, which I mean, that's an awesome name, but I think he won like 0.3%, or like he won like several 100,000 votes, not
Yeah.
very much at all. Joe Jorgensen ended up winning like 1.6 million,
Yeah.
and that'll probably adjust by thousands, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So would you guys agree that, like, assuming Biden wins here, and I know we keep like qualifying that, like, but what do you think was the thing? What would you say is the thing that won him this? Like, what was
Donald
the
Trump.
bit? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, no,
is this? But like,
and that's not an anti-Trump to say that. It's just
maybe
what it was.
maybe speak about it in regards to like through the election. Like, what were the key? Every year every election they talk about like, oh, that was the state that won it for him. That was the thing that won it. Like, Guardian has like the flipping of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona. Was that what did it, or would some of these other things that we see that we're still waiting on, like, would those have been the deciding factors? Do you think like
Yeah.
Georgia and Pennsylvania played a bigger part than Michigan and Wisconsin? Like, what do you think?
No, I mean, Michigan and Wisconsin I feel like it was pretty big. I mean, but it wasn't shocking. But the collectively, I mean, it's all going to play into it. Like Georgia and Pennsylvania is going to be just as big as Michigan and Wisconsin, even though he doesn't necessarily need Georgia and Pennsylvania. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but so assuming he does take Arizona, if he just won Nevada, which he is up in right now, and Trump still won Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Georgia, it would only get him up to 265, and Biden would be right at 270.
Do you think I personally think he has a better chance of winning Georgia than he does Nevada. Yeah. I think there's a more likely chance that Trump takes back Nevada than Georgia going to Trump personally. But
yeah. Now to kind of hit on what Josh was saying, like I was talking with my wife the other night, and I was saying, if Trump had chosen, so his personality, his just being brass and non-PC and just being able to insult people, and he is funny sometimes, being funny. Like, I think that did win him the election in 2016 because there were a lot of people that found that very against the grain from what they've always seen in politicians, and which was very dry for them. So I think that won him the 2016 election, but I think it totally lost him the 2020. I told Megs the other night, if he would have just been more diplomatic when he finally got into office and stopped trying to demonize the left so much and be so incendiary in some of his comments, I think he would have won this election. I think he lost it by continuing to be, I guess, himself, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say what is clear, how we were seeing all these polls that he was 10 points down, going into election week.
Yeah.
Which obviously did not hold up, not even nationally. And within some of the states, Georgia right now is a complete, it looks like Biden's going to win, no doubt. But by a few thousand votes. That's crazy mm-hmm. thin. And it's even the things that are decided by 20,000 votes, like in Michigan, that's crazy thin.
Yeah.
That's smaller than the city of Euless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For that's the difference between the whole state. So I think what is clear is that that it wasn't like he won with some kind of fake movement in 2016. Like, there was obviously a lot of people, just about half of the country. There's almost 70 million people who want Donald Trump to be president enough to go out and vote for him. Mm-hmm. There's more than last time. I think he's going to win a similar share of the popular vote as he won last time. I think what did he have? Like 47. Hillary didn't even hit 50%. Think on that for a second. That the last election, neither of the top two candidates won 50% of the popular vote.
So he's about 4 million down right now, which
how many total is that? I can't read it.
Biden's getting close to, he's at 73.7 million. Trump's at 69.7, almost 69.8.
Yeah. So
about 4 million off.
That's definitely a thing. Like, when people talked about, I heard somebody say this really well, like, oh, we thought there was going to be like a blue wave. And it's like, well, there was, but there's also a red one. Like, everybody voted.
Yeah.
So from one perspective, you can say, everybody's divided, but like, any talk of like voter suppression or like low turnout. I mean, no, anybody who could vote, like it's going to be rare to see this high percentage of vote turnout at any point from both sides. So like you should understand that like what was voted for is how people feel and is how the predominant these are the predominant takes
Sure.
from people who either identify as Democrat or Republican or lean one way or the other. I don't think that there's any room to say, oh, well, but there's this, the people who didn't want to. Well, it wasn't that many. Either way.
So I did see that, and they're still trickling in, obviously, but at a certain point yesterday, Biden got more votes just for a single candidate than anybody else in U.S. history. And I think that was really illustrative of the fact that I don't necessarily think it's because, obviously it's not because he's the greatest candidate we've ever seen and all these masses showed up to vote for him because he's the best candidate that we've seen in decades. I think it's really a picture of more people will show up to vote against someone they truly hate than show up to vote for somebody that they think they like. It's the same thing with going to a restaurant or any business. When you look at the reviews, people are more likely to leave negative comment about their negative experience than they are to leave a review that was like, hey, this place was great. That's just the nature of how people are. And so,
and part of the, like, most votes ever, part of this is population growth. Like
part of it
country's significantly bigger than it was even 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But nobody was setting records last time though. So it is.
Yeah, it is. Devin, you touched on something. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, like, I mean, I don't think it's any secret. Like, I fall middle, like I'm for the most part, a case by case person and stuff like that. So I politically don't align myself with either party because it really is like a back and forth thing for me. But I was talking about, like, okay, assuming Joe,
there ain't no party like an Isaiah party.
Yeah.
Isaiah party don't.
There's a Jesus 2020 sign in my yard. No, I'm just kidding. There's not. I do love Jesus, but I was just like, man, here's what I would hope though, is that, because Devin, I think you are right. I don't know, it just feels that there are a good amount of people that voted against Trump as opposed to for Biden. However, they checked the box that said Joe Biden. And so, like, I just pray that there is a willingness to still call, as I wish there would have been, and I saw in some circles, a willingness to call out Trump when he didn't do things right. I hope that there is still that willingness to call out Biden if he wins when he doesn't do things right, as opposed to continuing to have to defend it into the ground just because someone's going to say, well, if Trump would have been here, this would be the problem. Like, the willingness to still call, I think that has to grow regardless of which way this would have gone. The willingness to call out our president when things don't go right and when they don't deliver on the promises that they've made, or when something is just wrong. Obviously, you pray for humility in them that they would be willing to accept that. However, that's less and less likely. Happening these days, just in politics. But like, the willingness just for people to say, hey, like, that wasn't right. I know he's the guy I voted for, but that wasn't right. And again, you see it in pockets, but overwhelmingly, at least on my social media feeds and in the news, obviously, it's like, okay, because if not that, I think it just continues to be this back and forth. But
absolutely. I mean, I really hope that we are, and I know it's not going to happen overnight, but I hope that we are at least progressing towards a day where there isn't this blind allegiance to a given party that you will ride and die with them. I hope that people do draw their lines in the sand and say, hey, I have historically supported this party and what it stands for because it has historically supported what I stand for on most things. But hey, I can't follow you there, which is how I personally felt in the last two elections. I voted Republican in the both elections that I voted in before 2016, 2008 and 2012. I voted against Obama. But then I did see that Obama was not this devil that everybody tried to make him out to be. Like, I remember being a young 18-year-old kid. Yeah, great speaker. Very diplomatic too. Like, a likable guy. He really is. But I I remember just being told in 2008 that this was going to be the end of America and democracy, and there were all these documentaries that came out about all the things that Obama was going to do to bring the downfall of America, and it really gave me appreciation of how strong checks and balances are. That, and obviously this last election, that any given candidate that gets into office, it doesn't seem like that much changes. Some things do. I think Obama made healthcare worse. At least it seems like he did, and it doesn't seem like Trump did a whole lot to help it. So I hope for, hope in that area in the future. But no, yeah, I hope to see the end of just blind party allegiance, which is why I'm going to try to do a better job in the future of just like, I'm not just going to click like red down the, down the aisle or blue down the aisle, but I'm going to try to pick a mix of like, hey, I like this guy over this guy. I like this guy over this guy, and just try to be more objective about the whole thing.
Yeah. Josh, you got any final thoughts before we jump over to our next segment?
Just everybody remember Jesus is on the throne, and in a much smaller capacity, but should be reassuring to us all, is the American system is really, really solid, and we're going to make it through this. And there are no threats to it right now. We should always be wary of what's ahead. But I would just tell people to have faith in the system and don't think that the election that everything is either won or lost just because of what happened this week.
For sure. Well, The Mandalorian came out last week, and has everybody watched episode 1?
Yep,
Yes.
I've watched it.
Episode 1. Okay, so if you have not watched episode 1,
I like how you're like incorporating this view more.
if you are one of the 2 people watching right now and do not want to hear about episode 1, you should probably jump off, but only after you subscribe or follow us. But episode 2 is out today. We haven't watched that yet. We haven't talked about it. We probably will. How do you guys want to do this? Do you guys just want to go through the episode? You just want to talk just shotgun from the hip? What your favorite parts were?
I liked it. This was exactly
really,
the kind of
Josh.
stuff. Yeah.
I thought you would be super leery about some of the things that we've seen.
No, man, it was a good episodic, like, I need to move on, and I know that Boba Fett's in it now, and I'm a little okay with that.
You were the one guy that was like,
hold on,
linked to the main series. You even, I'm gonna have to go back and check
Fett
it.
has like 2 lines in the main series. All right, having Boba Fett in this now is not a link to the.
Don't do that. Don't cop out of this, Josh.
No, I'm saying if they start having
regardless,
lightsabers,
you know it's coming. It's episode 1.
The fact that they got the original actor and he looked really cool at the end.
That was the original actor
at the end.
Dude, that's the guy who played like the
clones.
Django. He played Django Fett and he played the clones back in like episode 2. Obi-Wan fights him. He's Django, and then he was still voiced the characters on the Clone Wars, and they made all the faces him.
Yeah,
they
there were a lot of cameos. Okay, but no, we're not letting Josh off of this. Josh, when you listed all the things that were going to link it to the main series, you even talked about Boba Fett.
I don't think I talked about Boba Fett.
You rattled off a list, and you're like, they're going to make Boba Fett in here, and then the Force is going to come, and all this other stuff.
Hold on. I'm cool with Boba Fett being in it, all right? And I like the way that they're going about it. First of all, I'll tell you why I like this episode. Because first, the episode was not about Boba Fett, as we know. The episode was about he wants to collect this armor for which I love his, religiosity about things and whatnot. And I love the whole, this town is in trouble and needs help. And it's just like, classic Western,
Mm-hmm.
And he teams up with Timothy the Oliphant.
That episode was called The Sheriff, wasn't it?
It's called The War.
It's not the episode was called The Sheriff.
It's The Warrant.
Marshal?
The Marshal.
Marshal. Yeah. And so I like Timothy Oliphant as an actor. He's done some Western stuff with Deadwood and Justified, although I don't really consider Deadwood a Western, even though it takes place in the 19th century West. That's a different story. It was good fun, It's pretty simple, and I'm okay with a little Boba Fett action in there.
Yeah, and I gotta say, they did it differently than I think we all thought it was gonna happen. Like when you see him there, it's like, oh, hey, look, Boba Fett is in this, and then it's like, oh, it's not Boba Fett, and then you're like, oh, but he is alive. Okay, I was like, it was.
I was not expecting that shot at the end.
So did you guys? Okay, so a couple cameos that I just doing some research on the episode that I found. So the guy, I forget his name, the guy at the beginning that he feeds to the wolves, essentially. at the fighting ring, like in the opening scene.
Oh,
So that guy
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah,
that guy
yeah.
was voiced by John Leguizamo.
yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
The one of the guys in the ring was like he did a bunch of voice acting on the Clone Wars and stuff like that. So there towards the end though, in that final scene, I'll just ask one of the do you guys there was a theory going around that scene around the fire with the Tusken Raiders, that Boba was actually one of those guys because you see him here in a Tusken Raiders outfit with the gaffy stick and stuff like that.
Okay.
But that like it was just kind of I don't know if it was Easter egg or if they're saying anything more other than just like, oh no, hey, Boba's been tracking Mando.
Yeah.
And that was actually him
I can see
around
that.
that fire.
That'd be cool.
And then there was just a bunch of little things like the droid at the bay was like one of the ones from the original series.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of reference. So this is, I think they did a lot of, I wouldn't even call it fan service, but they make allusions to the first series. So like the speeder that Timothy Oliphant's character was on,
Yeah.
it
pod
looks
racer,
exactly
right?
like the pod racing thing, right?
Yeah.
But there's little stuff like that like that's not enough to be really fan servicey, but it connects it to the wider world. So it's like, look, we're not gonna like show you Chewbacca just show up here or something dumb like that.
Yet.
But just little tiny things like, oh, they use the same droids in different places, or these parts kind of look the same sometime, and it reminds you of the movies, but it doesn't draw you into them. And it's not just this, oh, you should think this is cool. Like when they showed us the dice in Solo, like, oh, I didn't even remember that the Millennium Falcon had mirror dice or whatever.
You guys want to run through some Easter eggs that they found? Okay, let me get this pulled. Make sure I almost pulled up episode 2. So this is from GameSpot here. Little
That's
Yoda. Yeah.
That's one. Boom.
So let's see here. It's got
He doesn't have a name yet.
Gone but Not Forgotten. It was this wall was like just riddled with Easter eggs on the graffiti.
Oh,
This
my
was
roommate
cool.
was
I
pointing
like
out
this,
really
but-
nerdy stuff on
Yeah.
this, and I was like, is that when he pause it? And...
Oh, Gore Koresh, that was his name. Oh, there was that thing. He was like when he's hanging upside down, he like swears to Gotha. He's like, I swear on Gotha, and they were talking about like Gotha was the name of like one of the droids from like the Clone Wars or something like that. I don't know.
Oh,
Let me see here.
apparently Timothy Oliphant's character was from like a novel or something. That's what somebody told me.
See, I consider myself a pretty big Star Wars nerd, but man, I guess I'm really not that into it because I have no idea what you're talking about with some of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm like,
these two
oh,
guys.
that's Boba Fett.
These were these Gamorreans. They first appeared in Return to the
Jabba's,
Jedi.
the Rancor.
Yeah.
Awesome. Only good
Okay,
scene
so this
from, like,
is
that whole sequence.
okay. We'll power through this. This is less of like I feel like hopefully towards the end these got Easter eggs. These are more just like, oh look, there's a Twi'lek. Those were in Return to the
Yeah, that
Jedi.
isn't really.
I did like the style of the intro of it where they had the like, the very anti-empire graffiti and stuff all over the walls, and that they did have like this, prize fight going on and stuff like that. I like the style of that. I thought it was pretty cool.
So Mando and the Zabrak, how do you say it? Zabrak.
Don't ask me, man.
That's the same race as Darth Maul.
Oh, it is.
Spiky
Okay.
heads.
Oh, here's it. I swear by the Gotra. Says this one has us confused. In Star Wars, Droid Gotra were a group that fought the droid rights. They've been mentioned in a number of Star Wars books and made their first appearance in 2018. He goes, we have no idea why John Leguizamo would swear by them.
Is that one of those examples where they just kind of like take names from the wider lore?
Well, I saw probably, but I did see something.
Adaptations.
Well, I saw someone just make a guess in regards to like he might have done that. It might not because he would have known about this, but it probably appealed to Mando because his heart softening towards droids towards the end of season 1 and stuff like that. It's even mentioned in this episode when he lands and the girl's like, "Oh, so now you love droids."
Oh,
and so,
that's right. I was totally
the
forgotten
lady-
that he hates droids from the last season.
And so it's just
Very,
like one of those like I think it was more if maybe not a link to them
very
or
prejudiced.
I don't think it was that he was trying to like, oh, if I say Gotra, then
Gotcha.
he'll leave me alone. But I think it's just highlighting like, oh,
I almost totally forgot about that as a kind of a theme of the last.
Yeah.
He was very prejudiced against droids.
there's
Also, can I say my least favorite part about this episode, and it was my least favorite part of the whatever episode she was in before, the actress who plays the garage person
oh, speaking of,
is so over the top and terror. It's like,
Oh, come on.
dude,
She's
she was
not
awful.
bad.
She was awful. Her screenwriting was awful, but I mean, she was like,
Okay, so here's the thing. So there was that
oh,
episode that what was the episode that had all of it was like where he teams up with the old group of baddies and there was who was the
Oh, yeah,
comedian?
oh no, that was some of the worst acting. The chick
that was.
from Asha from Game of
Yeah,
Thrones.
but who was the comedian in that episode?
Oh, Bill Burr.
Yeah. So like I didn't
Wasn't
enjoy
good.
like so when you're gonna cast a comedian for these things, do you want them to play in their strengths or do you want them to like I don't know. I
I
don't
thought he
dislike
was
her.
fine, but
Yeah, but I would
the
have loved to
other
seen him crack a joke.
the two tentacle head people, there's the girl
Mhm.
on the crew and then the guy they saved, they were both so over the top. And all
Yeah.
of their screenwriting was like, we have a past with you, Mando. And it's just like nothing else has been this unsubtle. Who wrote this episode? My goodness.
That episode it was like the Fly episode in Breaking Bad, where it was just like,
whoa. Do not compare it to The Fly.
right.
Oh,
The Fly is a good episode. It's a perfect bottle episode, which by the way, Devin, do you know who directed that episode?
Ryan Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's why I hated it. It was just like
Hey,
this
he
is
also
so
directed
out of
Ozymandias.
here. Like it was just such a side. Like what is this? What is?
Okay, it had purpose, but I liked the idea, the concept of a heist episode. It was just the acting and screenwriting for those two tentacle people was horrific.
I love listening to Josh like bash certain things about like film and television, but then like be like, hold on, wait, no, let me defend the other things that like
Defend the one that's like kind of
He's
unanimously.
like, no, guys, you just have to understand all these other things
Yeah.
that
No,
like are
look, I can get on. I could totally understand if you think that The Fly is your least favorite Breaking Bad episode. I think that's fair. But like comparing why you do not like that to like why the heist episode of The Mandalorian doesn't work, I mean, you can't say that Paul and Bryan Cranston were not phenomenal actors in their parts.
yeah,
Well,
but does phenomenal
oh.
acting like override bad storytelling?
Not necessarily, but
I just remember
terrible
the heist
acting
episode.
overrides good storytelling, which is exactly what happened in the heist episode.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. The heist episode, the acting was definitely subpar, but it was also, I can't remember what number of episode that was, but it was so detached from like the main storyline, and I'd have to go back
That's
and
kinda all
rewatch
of
it.
them.
But that was the thing, like there was still a kind of progression, and it seemed like that derailed it. And I feel like it was early enough in the series to where I was kind of wondering. I was like, is there going to be like a main story tie-in, or is this going to just kind of be weird little individual episodes? But also the Rick and Morty heist episode kind of ruined any heist thing for me ever.
You know what
What-
kind? You know what?
Because you
Rick and
liked it
Morty.
or didn't like it.
No, because the Rick and Morty heist episode was so accurate on heist plots.
Oh yes, that was
It was
hilarious.
so brutally accurate.
The you son of a like that kills me.
And then, dude, if you go back and watch that heist episode in The Mandalorian, it's like check.
Every-
Did
It's
you have
the
you
most formulaic genre.
are you
It
guys
is.
Stranger Things fans?
Oh, absolutely.
First two seasons. Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember the episode? What you guys are talking about kind of reminds me of how much I dislike the episode where Eleven
Oh,
goes
yeah,
off
yeah, the
and
one
meets
where she
the
goes off.
That episode. I feel
Yeah.
like every Stranger Things knows that episode.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, so moving back to here, it talks about Mos Espa, which was first mentioned in the Phantom Menace. It's where we first meet Anakin Skywalker as a child.
Oh, really? That wasn't Mos Eisley?
Yeah, it says Mos Espa.
Uh,
I mean, you can fact check this. I'm just taking that at its word. Mos Pelgo. Here's how you had talked about they just pull out like names from other things and just like
Yeah.
bring them up. So Mos Pelgo was first introduced in the Knights of the Eternal Throne expansion pack for the Star Wars: The Old Republic video game.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's just like it's
Dude, I'm
let's
telling
just
you guys.
there's
those-
got to be cities. We don't have to go recreate. We don't have to create anything new. Let's just go grab names that are in
Hey.
games.
I'm telling you though, guys, those Knights of the Old Republic games, like they're definitely outdated because they're like from when I was like probably 10
Mhm.
years old, but they were so much fun and they had such a cool little like plot of their own. And they were really early on. It was like a, what do you call it? An RPG or whatever. So there was a lot of customization. You could go like get crystals for your lightsaber to make them different colors. And it was a cool game. And I really hope that they do some sort of adaptation into film from it because it's it's the Old Republic. It's a lot of origin story for Jedi and stuff like that.
What'd
The
you guys
Sith.
think? What'd you guys think of Timothy Oliphant's character Vanth?
I was there for it.
Yeah. So
I like it.
he's from Deadwood and
think he's a good
Justified. The
actor.
bartender actually is
I
from.
mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
You're just saying that like I
Well-
have no contributions to these episodes.
Well, it's kind of like when Devin gave you credit for calling Georgia, but I actually did. But it's all right.
I thought Josh did.
Nope, that
Is
was
that
me.
why you were? Yeah, I
What?
I'm totally kidding. I mean, I'm
did
not
you
kidding.
call Georgia first, Isaiah?
I called it in a text yesterday, but I didn't call it for the game.
No.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you no go, sorry, everyone watching has no idea what we're talking about. Go back through our group text. I'm the one who says like, no, I actually think Georgia's could go the other
Oh,
way.
you
It's
did?
gonna flip. And then Josh says something right after that, and Devin reads that and goes, "Oh, you're totally right, Josh. It is a nail biter."
Oh, my bad. I totally.
Well, there was a text exchange though where Devin was saying Georgia looks pretty solid for Trump, and I was like,
Yeah.
there's those mail-in ballots coming in.
That
though.
I know.
Or did you say that too?
No, I'm before that. Anyway.
Oh gosh, I didn't even see
That
People
was
aren't
that was
really
the
interested
joke.
in our text
No,
thread.
no one cares.
Well, I mean, this
Isaiah.
whole entire
Gosh.
show is
cares.
this show is our text thread. Let's see here. So
Not all of
obviously,
it.
yeah.
No, it is because Ben puts us on mute and never, very rarely engages.
Yeah.
So we know that this armor is Boba Fett's armor that
Yeah.
Vanth has. Dude, they got it down to like to a T, like the bullet
did.
hole in the helmet and everything. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Or the laser dent.
That's a big
Or-
scary monster. So the dragons.
Oh, okay, that was.
Oh, okay. So there was little. I was thinking, Devin, were you thinking Dune the whole time?
I was going to say
was-
that I just got done reading Dune, and it's very Shai Hulud. Is that how you say it?
Yes, that's how I was like Shai Hulud.
Yeah,
which is how they
fair.
say it in the audiobook.
And I after reading Dune and actually just like reading an overview of like, hey, this is what the novel is going to be and what it's about. It did mention that like Star Wars and George Lucas drew a lot of inspiration from the Dune novels, and I was like, oh yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
So this Camtono that it's the thing that like holds a bunch of stuff. There was one in the episode. This is the picture from season 1. It's what he paid him in all the Beskar with. Do you know that the original prop, like in the original series, was an ice cream maker?
Okay.
There's a picture. I wish I had it on here of a guy. He's running through one of the ships and he's just holding an ice cream maker. But that's what.
Oh,
that
dude,
actually is.
I love the scenes inside the what do you call them?
Yeah.
Those guys, the Jawas. I love the scenes inside the Jawa ships to see just all, especially in A New Hope, to look at what all like. There's one droid that's clearly made out of like a trash can from a fast food place, and to just see all the random junk and scrap that they made these things out of.
Hey, so here's a picture of that campfire. This is the one that people are thinking because of the gaffy stick that they're thinking this is Boba Fett right here.
The what?
Okay.
The gaffy stick, I think it's on the ground right there. I may be
What's a
seeing that
gaffy
wrong.
stick?
Too dark
Gaffy
on my computer, but yeah.
The gaffy stick. It's just like a pole. It's a fighting pole.
Yeah.
Is that like the Star Wars name for it?
Yeah.
And you're like deep in the lore over here?
No,
Oh,
actually, I
cool.
played a Star Wars RPG, like a Dungeon and Dragons Star Wars thing, like earlier this year with one of my friends, and that was one of the weapons of choice for my guy. But anyway, so they think around this campfire, they're theorizing that was Boba Fett there. A couple more. Bye bye Sarlacc.
Yeah, Sarlacc pit.
Did you?
That was the point in the
that he lives.
episode where, because at first it was like, oh, that's not Boba Fett. They just have his armor. But when they said that the snake thing like ate the Sarlacc, I was like, oh, Boba Fett's gonna come about.
Yeah, they definitely seeded how, like a way, like they put in some, they dropped some things where it's like, oh, maybe that's how Boba Fett survived. Like obviously he did, but I like that. No, I do have a question. Do you guys think they're going to maintain that Boba Fett's armor is it's not made out of Beskar, it's made out of something else? Do you think they're going to maintain that, or are they just going, because it is such a minor detail, or are they just going to go ahead and retcon it and say it's made out of Beskar?
I bet they're given liberty to do whatever they wanted.
I know, but what do you think they'll do? Will they stay super like to it? Because I forget the name of the metal, but it's not Beskar. It's called something else, but it's a much like I feel like they're trying to make Beskar is their adamantium, their
Unobtainium.
right. Their
vibranium.
Vibranium.
A lot of fantasy metals out there.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm curious to see if they call Boba Fett's metal that. Dark Ferric. Oh.
What? What is that?
I don't know. It looks like a super small cameo of a guy here.
Is that Dark Ferric or is that Dank Ferric? My screen's blurry, so it looks
Oh.
like Dank Ferric.
The
Dual
dual.
Sons of Tatooine is
Yes,
not
yeah.
an Easter egg. Ugh.
I mean, it
It's
totally.
like saying the sand is an Easter
Egg.
egg.
And then okay, so this actually is the end of the gaffy stick, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tatooine's not an Easter egg. Like if maybe in like a prequel or something. I think they did this in which was the prequel to A New Hope, with the rebels. Totally blanking. Anyway, the planet that got blown
Rogue
up.
One.
Yeah, Rogue One, the planet that got blown up in A New Hope. That
Beach Planet. Yes.
Which what a great
Yes.
way just to like say, hey,
Like,
fall
I
in love
would
with all
like,
these
okay.
characters, and then
yeah,
erase.
like that planet, I guess you can technically kind of call an Easter egg, but Tatooine as an Easter egg, it's like no, it's where everything started and
Yeah.
remained.
I think there. Yeah, I mean, by definition, it's an Easter
It's
egg.
like calling
Seeing the two
space an
suns.
Easter egg.
Yeah.
Oh, they're in space. It's just like Star Wars, the original one.
You guys are the worst.
What?
Poor people that make these articles getting destroyed by clowns like y'all.
Oh, these articles. I'm sorry, going through and making lists off of things you see in a TV show is not exactly journalism. All
Dude,
right.
so, like,
Hey,
the
we just
armor
spent.
and the Beskar, like, so I mean we saw in this one that wow, like it refracted, like the laser shots and stuff like that. It made me think two things. One, what is even the purpose of the stormtroopers armor? And like, I mean, what does that protect against? Punches?
Yeah,
That's not it.
fists.
Like they get sliced up by.
Although didn't Chewie
lightsabers
like
and-
smash their heads together at one point and knock them
Yeah,
out?
yeah. Like it just it's like wow, their
Hmm.
armor is basically pointless. I guess unless it wasn't pointless when they were getting rocks thrown at them. I guess it gave them a little bit of protection again. And
They still
in
got knocked out
Return
by
of the Jedi,
rocks from
but
the
they still
Ewoks.
did get knocked out by rocks. Yeah,
The,
but,
Rocks thrown by Build-A-Bears.
that and the on like the droids thing. Do you remember the scene in Return of the Jedi where I think it's one of it's like in Jabba's palace and they're walking C-3PO and R2 through there and they've got a droid upside down and they're torturing him and they're putting like hot toaster coils on his feet. And I'm like, does he have the sensation of feeling? How does that work? Like,
You don't want to ask too many questions about the droids. They have
Yeah.
like a whole religion. And
yeah.
they're like thanking the maker. Apparently, they have a civil rights movement. They can feel torture.
I mean, I can get behind that more because it's like, okay, they become sentient, they're AI, but like, I'm like, wait, you're putting hot coils on their feet because apparently they have the sensation of feeling that. That's odd.
yeah.
Anyway.
So
like
Durasteel is
screaming,
Boba
too.
Fett's armor. It's
Okay.
him and Django both opted for the untraditional or the non-traditional Mandalorian metal.
Okay, so
or
Beskar is like
Naturally.
the
traditional, yeah. So anyway, do you guys have any thoughts on what you hope to see today in today's episode?
Like, I don't know.
More of the same. Just keep it episodic. Give a nice little adventure romp with.
I mean,
Hey, what's our character's name?
Pedro
Pedro?
Pascal.
He has like a name. Isn't it like Jin or
Oh.
something really?
Oh yeah. What is?
It's something really nefarious like that, where it's like one syllable, but you can't get it right still.
It is.
think they- I do
Din
remember-
Din Djarin.
yeah.
How am I supposed to? Din Djarin? It's like I tried to say a real name and then my mouth seized up, like with a cramp in my jaw. That's Din Djarin.
It's probably how
That's-
they come up with some of these names.
Din Djarin.
Yeah, not exactly Tolkien with the linguistic
Yeah.
composition in Star Wars.
How many episodes do you guys think Pedro Pascal actually acted in this season?
What do you mean?
Well, he's got like 2 stunt doubles, body doubles. That some of the episodes last year he just did the voice. He didn't even do the acting.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what I suspected. I never knew, but I was just like, especially with stunts, but like, why wouldn't you just pay for his voice? You know?
Yeah.
Well, because you need
It-
him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'd heard that.
Because
I
at
don't
some
know if
point you take his mask off or his helmet off.
Yeah, so there's one episode. Boom.
Yeah,
One
episode.
scene.
But somebody had sent me an article. It might have been Dakota last year that says the actor Pedro, he apparently hates filming this and he wants out. And I'm like, oh man, I really hope that's not true. But then I'm like, nah, even if it is,
Let him
like
do the voice. Yeah.
somebody else that sounds like him and
he ne-
continue on. Like that's the
Dakota
great
needs
thing
to
about his
go.
character is he never takes his helmet off, and he already has the one time, so you never need to do it again.
Dakota needs to go follow him on social media. He actually, I mean, he rants and raves about it.
Okay, so
About like,
hopefully
and he
falls
it's cool
firmer.
actually. It was a sermon illustration this past week in our youth ministry about, but like he
I wonder
gives,
what Dakota's Alexa says about Jesus.
but he goes and like he gives credit to his stunt doubles and everything like that. He seems like a pretty cool dude. He seems to be enjoying
Maybe
it.
it was one of those things where they had just got done filming because Daniel Craig said he would rather shove a wine glass through his eyeball than film another 007 movie. And then a year later, he's like, okay, maybe I overreacted.
Yeah,
Let's
and
do
then that
another
paycheck comes through, and you're like, I
Yeah.
guess I can do
Yeah.
one of these again.
Dude,
Yeah.
if I was writing a James Bond that he was in, I would incorporate that as a torture scene in the movie. So it's just like, oh, you think this is real funny, huh? You know, like
That's funny.
joking about.
So
Guess what, bud?
Yeah.
well,
Jay,
I'm
wasn't
gonna go
he,
watch episode 2 now. So
Wasn't he one of the stormtroopers in Force Awakens? Daniel Craig?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
full circle there.
yeah.
full
Alright.
circle. All right, well, that was fun. I'm gonna go watch episode 2 now and
All right.
enjoy
No
quarantine.
spoilers in the group chat. I'm watching it with friends later.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it tonight. I got to go help some friends move after this, so no spoilers.
Sounds like a deal. All right, you guys don't jump off, but we are done for the day.
All right.
Okay,
see you guys.
bye-bye.